This tutorial is just to walk you through one of my door hanger kits. Today we're going to be doing this Welcome Fall door hanger kit. In your kit you will receive a photo and your pieces and also the hanging hardware for your kit. Now the photos here just to help you know where your pieces need to go for assembly and also if you need some color inspirations. So we're going to set that to the side. Now when you get your kit, first off you're going to want to unwrap your large kit. Now, before we get started painting, I recommend that you take all of your pieces out and orient them where they are supposed to go. That way you'll know exactly where each piece goes, and then also you can start thinking out color combinations. Now, on your smaller pieces that come in the bag, what I've done, because it's important that you paint the correct surface of the piece. So for instance, on this L, if you flip it over, you'll see a black dot. The black dot indicates that that is the back surface, and you do not have to worry about painting that surface. So as you can see, it's just a guide. That way you paint the correct surface. So we're gonna lay out all of our pieces in this design here real quickly. And again, be careful because there are some small pieces with some of these designs. So just be careful when you're opening up your small bags that they don't fall out. So now that I know where all of my pieces are gonna go, I'm going to get the smaller pieces ready for painting. We're not gonna paint them right now, but I'm gonna show you a little trick that I like to use. Now some of these are small, so when I go to paint them, it's hard to hold them and then you get paint all over your fingers. So a trick that I like to use is get some type of masking tape. We are going to tear us off a small section. And now I'm going to fold two ends under and I'm going to leave the adhesive side faced up. And I'm going to set that on my workspace. And I'm going to take some of these smaller pieces here with the back side facing down and I'm going to lay them on my tape. And this just allows to where I can have them in an area to be held down and I don't get paint all over my fingers. Now some of these larger pieces, that's not necessary, but it is helpful when you have the smaller pieces. So we're going to take and set all of our embellishment pieces to the side on your workspace, because first we want to paint our back and decide if you want to do a solid paint color or if you want to go with a stained look. Now as far as paint, I usually just use a basic acrylic paint. There are lots of different colors to choose from and it's easy to work with and dries very quickly. So for your back, I would recommend you can either paint it a solid color or, as I mentioned earlier, you can choose to do a stained look. Now to do so, the trick to doing that is you're going to want a baby wipe. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to show you on a scrap piece of wood that I have here. You take your baby wipe and fold it over a couple of times just to give it a little strength. Shake up my paint here. And now I'm just going to apply just a small dab of paint on the end of the baby wipe. I'm going to take the wood surface and I'm going to kind of just, you know, do some gentle strokes here and there. I can leave it as solid or transparent as I'd like. Of course, the more that I work it is going to make it more of a solid color. But as you can see, it still allows the wood grain color to kind of shine through. If that's a little too much for you, what you can do is after the whole back has been painted, let it dry and come back and put a second coat, whether you're doing the stained look or painting it, and it will darken up that surface for you. Once you have one coat on your back, you're going to want to take it and set it to the side. So we're going to set it to the side, and then you're going to want to paint all of your other smaller items. Okay, now a tip when painting just in general, you're going to want to use a small amount. Usually a quarter size will be sufficient enough paint when painting some of the smaller items, but you can use a foam brush or any of the detailed brushes. I like to use this sponge. They actually are just makeup sponges, and what I do is, again, with my scrap piece of wood here, I take and I apply just a small amount. I take my sponge, I kind of prime it, and then off to the side I do what it's called offloading. Okay, and then now I'm ready. Say this is my area I want to paint. All I do is just an up and down dabbing motion, and as you can see, it puts a nice thin layer of paint on. You want to be careful because if it's too thick, you start getting paint running over on the edges And then also it just takes it a whole lot longer to dry. If I was to start painting, say here with the truck, and I painted all of these elements, by the time that I'm to the end, by applying a thin layer, if I would like for the colors to be darker, it would already be dry for me to go back and paint a second coat. This just helps being efficient with our time. So let's say we've gotten all of our pieces painted. So we're gonna bring back in our base. And again, you're gonna see little lines here. These are called score marks, and these are here just to help you align your items. So again, make sure all of your pieces are dry, and you want to be careful that you don't have paint dripping over the edges, because while you're going to place it down, if you were a little off center and go to move it, it may mess up your back and you may have to touch up in a few areas. But what I recommend is flipping your piece over to where you see the back, and you're going to take some Type Bond wood glue. So say for instance on the truck, this is my back piece. I'm going to apply it here in the thicker areas. Again, make sure that you just have a thin layer of glue, because once you go to push it down, you don't want glue squishing out on the sides. And then I recommend taking some super glue and then only using it maybe a drop across the piece here in the corners. The super glue is there to help hold it in place until the wood glue finally cures and hardens, which usually takes a day or two. So after I've applied that, I'm going to apply pressure 5 to 10 seconds for the super glue to activate. And then I'm going to proceed with doing this with all of the other pieces throughout the piece. Once you've got everything glued down, then you're ready for the final piece, which is you just take your twine, these pieces here. You're going to see the 2 holes in the top. You're just going to feed those through, and then you would just tie your knot. Now, once your door hanger is finished and dry, you do have the option, if you would like, to use what they call a sealer coat. This is something you can pick up from your local hardware store or Home Depot. It's just a clear coat that you spray over it that would just help it preserve for longer. If you do, I'd recommend getting a water-based, like clear spray. If you don't get water-based and you use some of your lighter colors, it will discolor those once they're outside in the elements. So just make sure that you get a water-based clear coat spray. And that's how you assemble this kit.